Jessica Spice, and I hope you are having a spooktacular October so far. So I have been getting some recurring questions, and I thought I would make a short video to kind of address those now. And a lot of those questions I'm getting are surrounding engagement, and I totally get that. I mean, the prospect of spending 180 minutes a day sitting and staring at a screen, that kind of, I guess, makes us a little bit nervous about, how well kids are going to stay engaged in that sort of learning environment. It's totally different from anything we've ever done before. So let's talk about that today. And I'm going to kind of center it around 3 tips for increasing student engagement in your virtual classroom. Let's get started. Okay, tip number 1. Hopefully I did that right. Take time for chit chat. Yeah. Think about when you start your regular school day. As your kids are coming in at the beginning of each day, you're greeting them. You're taking time to say their name and to make it clear to them that you and your partner are glad to see them coming into your classroom that day. It's the same thing with the virtual classroom. Try to log in 5 to 10 minutes early to each session if you or your partner can, and take time to greet each student as they enter the room, and take time to kind of just comment and talk to them about what you see. Maybe you see their pet, maybe you see they're in a different room than they normally are. Maybe their little sibling is sitting with them that day. There's plenty that you can talk about as your kids are entering the virtual classroom, just like you would do when they're entering the regular classroom. When we stay behind for a few minutes after a session, we can do that as well. Maybe so-and-so logged in right at the beginning or a few minutes late and you didn't get a chance to talk to them at all before the day started. You can take a couple minutes at the end of your session to build that connection with that student. When we have an established positive relationship with that student and with that student's family, we can help them feel more connected to the classroom, just like they would in a regular classroom, and that can help to increase engagement. Maybe to lighten the workload a little bit, you and your partner could make an agreement on who stays at the beginning or at the end of each learning block so that you can each dedicate a little extra time getting to talk to your students. And sometimes the kids just want to talk to each other, and that's okay too. And that's actually another tip I'll give you, is give the kids time to talk to each other. Sometimes people worry about how you're going to build social skills when you're in a virtual classroom. Social skills are such an important part of the learning that we do in kindergarten. So what I've been doing is at the beginning of my small group sessions, I have between 5 and 7 kids during the sessions. The first few minutes, I have started giving the kids time to talk to one another. And I explicitly tell them that, all right guys, I have to get a couple of my papers ready. This is your time to talk to each other. Because we're in the early stages of getting to know each other, I've started off by giving them a prompt. Oh, how about you ask each other about the weather? We're all in different locations, so the weather might be different where you are. Why don't you ask your friends about the weather? And some of them have their grown-up there to help support them and help them in starting off and continuing on a conversation with their peers. Giving them time to talk each day and build those social skills with their peers is going to make a huge difference in, again, how connected they feel to that classroom and to their peers. We want them to be more than just a little rectangle on the screen. We want them to know that they are other kids just like them that they can build connections with. And that leads us into tip number 2, build connections with the outside world. So this is another one that seems pretty tricky to start with, is how can you bring the outside world into your Google Meet or your Zoom call of a classroom? My teaching partner booked the most fantastic field trip this past week, and it was to the apple orchard. Apples were the focus of one of our first guided inquiries, and so the kids were wanting to learn all about apples. They were super interested in them. She called up our local apple orchard, and she was able to arrange a field trip, like a virtual tour, with a tour guide from the apple orchard. Students had written down some questions in advance that they wanted to ask, and then the tour guide also took questions on the spot from the students. She took us on a tour of the apple orchard, she showed us the different apples and things that were there, and she answered questions live with the students. It was really amazing to get to go somewhere that a lot of our students hadn't ever been before. It was really quite an interesting experience to see how excited they were to learn more about apples, because it wasn't just us talking, and they're kind of used to their peers by now, so they don't want to listen to them all the time. So it was really neat to kind of bring in some novelty, something new, something different, something exciting. And I think monthly field trips might even become a staple of being part of a virtual classroom. You can kind of do things that you wouldn't normally get to do at all, and things that we might not necessarily be able to do right now because of the COVID situation. We're in a really fortunate position to be able to bring guest speakers and to be able to go on trips to places that aren't anywhere near us, that there's no way we would have had the funding to go. And I hope that you and your partner in virtual kindergarten are able to take advantage of these really unique opportunities and engage students with the outside world and create a globally connected classroom. And then we're going to head into tip number 3. Make sure they are talking and moving in every single session. Every single session, they should be talking, they should be moving, they should be getting a chance to have the spotlight on them. So you're going to be doing this in a couple of different ways. Making sure they talk in every session. This is going to be a lot easier if you're scheduling small group sessions every day with students, or if you're making time for one-on-one sessions with students as well. Give time for students to answer questions just like you would during, like, let's say a community circle in your classroom. And we're even doing this during our whole group sessions. So we're going around and we're giving each student an opportunity to respond to their peers. And we've created a few signals that we're using when we're in a lesson. So thumbs up and thumbs down and thumbs in the middle is used quite a bit as a way for students to respond to things. And that also helps us to pick certain students that we want to speak aloud on a certain topic. And another thing we've kind of established as a class norm are, this is my special secret. Are you ready? They're called Y5s. Like Wi-Fi high five? Y5s. So we give each other Y5s to kind of congratulate or encourage one another. Y5s are something we talked about at the beginning of the school year. We talked about when we might give someone a Y5, why we give them a Y5, how they're kind of the same as high fives, but how we have to be careful that we don't hit our computer or our iPad when we do a Y5, because that's no good. It will wreck your device. So we practice Y5s, and now we use them consistently in the classroom. And you're increasing engagement with that action because it's involving them with the other students and with the educators that are in the classroom on their screen. Some people worry about students having to wait for their peers when their peers are showing work. So sometimes if we have more than one student holding the work up at once, let's say my partner is talking to the class like during our math session, and I am noticing someone's holding up, let's say a 10 frame of 7 they had made. I'm not going to be interrupting my partner while they're talking, but I want to make sure that student knows that I noticed what they did. So I might go, right, I can, without speaking and interrupting my partner's lesson, I'm able to make contact with that student and go, yes, I see that you made the 7-10 frame. You did a good job, Y5, now Y5 me back. Again, increasing the student engagement and holding it and keeping it there in place. We're also ensuring that we're building plenty of movement into every lesson. Students are rarely sitting for more than 5 minutes. It's not that we are giving them like a break from the learning, we're integrating the movement into the learning. Ensuring that our students are moving in every lesson helps to meet the needs of the students that we have in our class. Some students need to move more than others, but we know all students need to move. And to be honest, I kind of want to get up and moving too. So it's been a lot of fun to do a count to 100 workout, a few times a week, and some other fun song and dances. And the parents tend to like it too, and they'll often get up and move and groove with their kid. Not all kids want to dance in front of their peers, and sometimes those are the kids in our regular classroom who kind of stand very still and you don't see them make any movements when you're doing a song and dance activity in your classroom. In the virtual classroom, this gives us a unique opportunity. We let parents know in advance, if your child doesn't want their friends to see them dance, it's okay to turn your camera off and do it that way. And for some of our kids, that works better for them. And the parents say like they do dance when the camera's off. They're just really aware that their peers could be seeing them and they don't want them to. And so they feel more comfortable engaging in activity with the camera off. We're totally supportive of that. We think having a camera as optional policy is so important for respecting the privacy and the dignity of our families. Our cameras are all pretty much on 99% of the time. But, if someone's mom is sitting there with them, with just a tank top on because they just got up that morning, it was really crazy, they're drinking a coffee, they have mascaras all over their face, and they just want the camera off right now because their child is pretty tired too and sitting in their lap, then I'm respecting that. If you want to have that camera off, that's okay. We just ensure that we continue engagement in the lesson by inviting families who don't have their camera on to type in the chat box or speak through the mic if they want to. Being really flexible and giving those options allows our families to kind of stay engaged with the learning no matter what unique situation or circumstance they're in. I hope that these 3 little tips for increasing and keeping engagement in your virtual classroom are helpful to you. Okay, thank you for joining me. I hope I can see you over on my Instagram, ms.spiceandeverythingnice, where we can keep the conversation rolling. See all you awesome educators later. Bye!
Hey you, yeah you, awesome educator, please subscribe to the Paragon of Play channel so I can come back at you with more awesome content. See you later.